TreVeyon Henderson has passed Quinshon, Judkins, and Omarion Hampton in Dynasty ADP. We'll tell you if that's the smart decision next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network. And today's show is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. He is the Fantasy Football Hall of Famer, Michael Fabiano. And on today's show, we're taking a look at the latest batch of ADP over on Dynasty League Football. We're going to talk about Tee Higgins versus George Pickens. We'll talk about a new QB2 in our Dynasty Leagues, which is wild to me. But I want to start at the rookie running back position because this has been something that you and I have been following all year. Ashton Jeanty at one point was RB3 behind Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. That's no longer the case. Devon Achane has passed him. But one of the things that's fascinating is that TreVeyon Henderson, after doing nothing in the first month of the season, has officially passed Quinshon, Judkins, and Omarion Hampton as RB7. Fabs, do you agree with that?
I mean, I can see it, but like when you say passed, it's one spot. I mean, they're neck and neck, right? So, I mean, it's not Hampton right now.
They weren't that way in November, though.
24.5, and TreVeyon's 23.5.
Yeah.
So, like, they're all bunched in. So, it's kind of like who do you like more? For me, like, I've always said that I thought Henderson was the most talented of the group, but I didn't like where he ended up. Hampton landed in the best spot, but all of a sudden, Kamani Vidal is eating into his touches. In fact, this week against Dallas, I mean, I don't know if I'm starting Omarion Hampton if I have some depth, but, if we're talking about Dynasty, Ramondre Stevenson may continue to be a thorn in the side of TreVeyon Henderson, maybe for another year. But, I mean, he's definitely the most talented player out of that trio. And I still love Quinshon Judkins. I mean, has he been a bit up and down? Yeah, but, I mean, he plays for the Browns. Like, think about that. Like, if it was Ashton Jeanty in Cleveland, it would be the same thing, right? I guess if Judkins was in Las Vegas, it would be the same thing too, right? So you got to kind of, give him a little bit of a pass there, considering how well he's played overall. So I can see it. I mean, I probably still want Hampton over Henderson and Judkins just because the situation there with the offense with Greg Roman, and when he's played and been the featured back this year, he's looked really good. The problem is that he opened up the season, remember, with Najee Harris, and Najee Harris got hurt. Then he got hurt himself. And then Kamani Vidal kind of played so well that, Harbaugh and Roman have continued to use him over the last couple of weeks. But I think going into next year, Omarion Hampton is going to be one of the most desirable running backs in Dynasty startups.
Yeah, I mean, he already is, right? RB9 right now. I got a take for you. You tell me if I'm crazy.
I got a feeling I'm going to tell you you're crazy.
Well, Ashton Jeanty is being drafted 11th overall. So that's the bottom end of your first round in your Dynasty startups. And TreVeyon Henderson's 22, Judkins 23, Hampton 24. I don't think there should be a round difference between those three guys and Ashton Jeanty. I know Jeanty was the 6th overall pick, but that's a really bad situation. I mean, that offensive line is one of the worst we've ever seen. I think they're going to have a new coach next year. I think they're going to have a new quarterback next year. And I do think having a good situation just raises the floor so much. Look at Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit. He's an awesome player, one of the best players in the league. But having an offense that is going to score 27, 28 points every single game just lends itself to more opportunities. And when I look at these running backs, Hampton's on a bad offense. I mean, I know they've had injuries, but he's in a bad offense. Judkins is in a bad offense. Jeanty's in a bad offense. TreVeyon Henderson's not. I think TreVeyon Henderson is in a good offense with an ascending quarterback with a young offensive line. I'm not so sure that I'm not saying I'd take Henderson over Jeanty, but I'm not saying that either.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I mean, we've kind of all learned a lesson, and maybe it's something that we should have learned in the past. But there have been good rookie running backs who've come into the league, and maybe the offenses haven't been great, and they've still been able to shine. But that's not been the case for Jeanty. I mean, Jeanty hasn't been horrible. I mean, he hasn't been brutal, but he has not been worth a high first round pick, whether it's dynasty or redraft. He just hasn't.
Well, can I give you an example, Fabs? Like, I think on a talent level, Breece Hall is more talented than James Cook. Now, that is not taking anything away from James Cook. I think he's an awesome player. But James Cook is in Buffalo and Breece Hall is with the Jets. And you just the situation matters so much for these running backs. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots are always kind of limiting Henderson's snaps because they just don't want to overwork him. But we've seen the talent. We see what he can do on limited touches.
Right.
I'm higher on TreVeyon Henderson.
I mean, he pops off 50-yard touchdown, rushes like nothing. And the problem too is, like, as you mentioned, they're on bad teams. What happens to bad teams? They are losing in a lot of the games. What happens when teams lose in a lot of games? You get a negative game script. What does that mean? You don't run the ball. And so unless that running back is a really good pass catcher, his value is going to take a dip. And so listen, you put all four of those running backs up, and one fantasy manager argues for each one being the top pick amongst the four. And I mean, I can't argue against it. I still think Jeanty's probably the most talented if you throw him into that mix of the other three backs. But that situation in Las Vegas is scary. The situation in Cleveland is scary. I'm not scared about the Chargers situation. I think they'll be right. Once they get Joe Alt back, and we're talking about future and long term, and the Chargers are a team now run by Harbaugh. They're going to continue to bolster the offensive line because they know that you win from the inside out. So that's going to be something that they continue to do. And Henderson, I would love to see him be a featured back, and I don't know why he hasn't been a featured back.
It might make more sense for their team though, just to keep him,
right? Exactly. But it doesn't make sense for our fantasy rosters. Where
I know Mike Vrabel needs to care about our fantasy teams more.
I know. Come on, Vrabes, what the heck, man? I mean, he's got his team on the doorstep of being like a AFC Championship game participant, and we're complaining about him caring about our fantasy football teams.
All right, I want to go through the next rankings of running backs. So RJ Harvey is RB17, and then there's a gap. We have Woody Marks, who is RB21, Cam Scatterbo, RB23, Bayshell Tootin, running back 25, Kyle Monangai, running back 27, and then Caleb Johnson at RB33 for whatever reason. Like he doesn't play.
I mean, geez Louise.
He doesn't play. So between Marks, Scatterbo, Tootin, and Monangai, which of those four running backs would you want the most on your dynasty team?
I mean, I love Scatterbo. You know that, dude. I love the way he plays. And I think that Giants offense could be a lot of fun to watch next year. Think about that. Jackson Dart, Scatterbo, Malik Neighbors when he comes back from the knee. Wan'Dale Robinson's been really good this year. I mean, he's been a starter just about every single week. I don't love him this week against Minnesota, but he's been a fantasy starter for most of the season. Theo Johnson's, an up-and-coming tight end. He won't be elite, but he'll be pretty good, and he has been this year. So I'd love to have him. But the guy that I really want is Kyle Monangai. I love
That's what I was going to say as well. We're on the same page.
I love him. And I don't know how long DeAndre Swift will be sticking around in Chicago, but long-term, Kyle Monangai, to me, I mean, that dude gets me excited in Dynasty. I love what I've seen from him in limited time as a rookie. And this is a situation where you've got an up-and-coming offense under Ben Johnson where it could be Caleb and Monangai and Odunze and your boy Luther Burden and Colston Loveland. That is a lot of talent and a lot of good young talent in Chicago or Indiana. I guess maybe that's what they're going to call them if they I know I'm kidding. But the Patriots did that years ago. They threatened to go to Connecticut, and Connecticut, which has no sports teams, they were going to be building like a huge stadium. I think it was like in Hartford. And then the Patriots decided, well, no, we're going to stay here. Foxborough stepped it up. I think Chicago will have to step up.
Yeah, I'm sure they will as well. I'm with you. I like Monangai. I'm not quite sure how everybody's pronouncing it these days, what the kids are saying. But I think the only concern with me is that you are talking about like a late day 3 pick, and these guys get replaced very easily. But having said that, his play style fits with Ben Johnson so well. It fits in Chicago. He is a downhill physical runner. I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Johnson this offseason is trying to find his version of Jahmyr Gibbs. And I don't think he's going to try to copy Detroit one for one, but I do think he's going to want somebody out of the backfield that can give him some of the more home run plays that they can use as a receiver. So maybe he transitions into the David Montgomery role, but that's a very, very fantasy friendly role. I love him. I'll pay whatever price it is to get him.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's at, right around 85 based on overall ADP. So, it's not like you're using a high draft pick on him either. Now, and he's a guy I would definitely want on my team.
All right, let's talk about some wide receiver movers in terms of ADP. I want to talk about wide receiver twos. George Pickens versus Tee Higgins. Which one do you prefer? We'll get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best time for sports, bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes, and it's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, it's fast, and it's available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks has added an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports schedule, and creating a lineup takes less than a minute, and the whole app makes the process so easy to use. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. You're already living fantasy football and dynasty football every day. Why don't you take it up to the next level and go ad-free for the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast? Join the Everydayer Club to get the show with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and so much more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedondynasty.supercast.com or check out the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, Fabs, let's talk about some wide receivers. And I want to get to George Pickens and Tee Higgins because we've been following these guys kind of all off season or all season long to see where their ADP is at. I remember just a couple months ago, Pickens was being drafted in the mid to late 20s, where Tee Higgins was in the 13, 14 range. That's flipped. George Pickens now wide receiver 13 on Dynasty League Football, 20th overall. And Tee Higgins down to 39th overall, wide receiver 23. How do you feel about those two rankings?
Yeah, I mean, listen, George Pickens is all predicated on being a Cowboy. I mean, if for some reason or another the Cowboys don't franchise him, he goes into free agency and signs a massive deal with the Titans, well, then goodbye dynasty value. That's not good for him. He's got to stay in Dallas. And I don't know that there's, many other teams out there that are going to give him the opportunity to be as good statistically as the Cowboys have, right? I mean, they've got that perfect mix. I mean, they're a very good offensive team. The defense, not so great. Hopefully the defense will get better next year. We'll find out. But Pickens is all predicated on what happens in the offseason. That's going to be one of the biggest moves that dynasty managers need to keep tabs on. I think Higgins has slid because of one, he tends to get dinged up. He's had some concussion issues this year. And I know you're not concerned about this, but I have a bit of a concern about Joe Burrow. In another press conference, it just seems like he's just, I don't know. Like, yeah, he didn't seem like he's like thrilled to be in Cincinnati and feels like that's going to be where he ends his career. And if he gets hurt again, I mean, that's another thing too. I mean, Joe Burrow's had injury issues. And when Joe Burrow goes bye-bye out of the starting lineup, oftentimes so does Tee Higgins. And so he's somewhat predicated on having that quarterback, Joe Burrow, under center for him to be a reliable fantasy option. And if Burrow continues to get hurt, number one, that's not going to be the case for Higgins. Number two, does Burrow decide I'm going to pull an Andrew Luck and I'm kind of done, maybe in my prime? I think that's the flip. And Pickens has been fantastic. I mean, you remember I came into the season saying if he gives us 70 catches, 1,100 yards, and like 6 to 8 touchdowns, that's a win. He's been way better than that so far this season.
I think you're right. I think there's a part of it where we just know that he's going to miss time. Listen to the number of games played each year. 16 as a rookie, 14 in 2021, 16 in 2022, 12 in 2023, 12 in 2024, 12 in 2025, and it doesn't feel like he's going to play another game this year, as he's been dealing with 2 concussions. Maybe he gets one more start in, but I think you just have to plan as to have, you're going to have Higgins out for 3 or 4 games every single season. And it feels like it's been happening in the fantasy football playoffs more often than not. I know that's not necessarily something you can predict, but it does seem like as the season goes on, he gets more banged up. He's also getting to this, I call it the magic age at wide receiver. When you're 26, it's like the very peak of your value, right? So he turns 27 in January, and like dynasty managers flip out when a wide receiver turns 27. They just completely value these guys in a different way. And I kind of get it, because now you are past the prime, you're past the peak. We're probably never going to see a better season than what we saw, back in 2021. And what's interesting, Fabs, is he's never had an 1,100-yard season in his career. He's had one season of double-digit touchdowns, whereas someone like George Pickens this year set career highs in receptions, yards, touchdowns. He's 3 years younger. I can see why Pickens is significantly higher right now.
Yeah, I can. And I mean, back, in August, I would have rather had Tee Higgins, but see how things change like so quickly. Joe Burrow gets hurt, misses significant time. Higgins, you deal with the concussion. I mean, that gets scary. And then he's had injury issues throughout his NFL career. And all of a sudden, George Pickens is, maybe a significantly or at least somewhat more attractive fantasy wide receiver for the long term. And that's where it is. But again, it all depends on what happens in this offseason. Like, we can talk about this all we want. If he goes someplace else, then Pickens' value is all of a sudden subject to be completely reevaluated. And so we only have what we have right now, and he's a Dallas Cowboy. And as a Dallas Cowboy, he has found the best statistical success that he's had in the NFL, and that involves being in Pittsburgh as their alpha, as the number 2 wide receiver in Dallas. And even, not for nothing, but when CeeDee Lamb was out, George Pickens was nails. I mean, that dude, as the kids would say, it was Aura 3000. I don't even know what that means. But like my stepson, would tell me about that. And I still don't know what 6'7" is. I'm trying to figure that out. But
it's based on a TikTok of
right. But Pickens,
fine, whatever.
Pickens right now, I mean, he's his value is certainly ascending in dynasty and redraft.
I would be shocked if Pickens is on another team next year. I think from everything, all the whispers that the Cowboys are going to franchise tag him. They'll see if they can work out a long-term deal, but I think it's going to be a short-term deal, more like hey, here's 2 years for $60 million, or here's 3 years for $94 million, something like that. Because Pickens wants to be in Dallas. He likes playing with CeeDee Lamb. He likes playing in this offense because he gets a lot of targets, and he likes catching passes from Dak Prescott. And I think he's seen the downside of this. You can be in a cold weather stadium catching passes from washed up Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and you can, be kind of an afterthought. So I do think he's going to stay in Dallas. I don't know beyond 2027 what it's going to look like, but expect him to be back. I want to go to a couple other receivers really quickly. And I actually want to check in on the Chicago receivers, because it's another situation that we've been following. Rome Odunze down to wide receiver 18. This is the lowest his ADP has been since he's been drafted. Luther Burden up to wide receiver 32. And then you've got DJ Moore at wide receiver 39. Is Rome still the number 1 receiver that you want to own in the Chicago offense?
Yeah, I still love him. I listen, I like Luther Burden too. I just don't like him as much as I like Rome Odunze, because I think next year DJ Moore is probably not going to be around. And he's already kind of descended down to the third option, right? I mean, when all 3 players are healthy, they were going more to Odunze. And then when Burden was back, I mean, Burden's been the leading receiver for the Bears 2 straight weeks, dealing with a little bit of an injury right now. So you got to keep tabs on his status, and they play Saturday. And that's a huge game against Green Bay. So no, I still like Rome Odunze a lot. And he started the season, I mean, that dude was shot out of a cannon. And then for whatever reason, maybe it's injuries, I don't know. The numbers have declined, unfortunately, to the point now where, I mean, we don't even know if we can play him the rest of the season. It all depends on if he's back or not, because he aggravated that injured foot. I still really like Rome Odunze. In fact, if somebody in Dynasty is down on him, I'd buy low.
How much would you buy? Would you trade Garrett Wilson for him, who's wide receiver 17?
No, because I love Garrett Wilson.
Okay, what about Brian Thomas?
I mean yes, that
Okay.
would be something that I'd think about. Yes, no question about that, especially if
AJ
Jacksonville
Brown?
decides to keep Jacoby Myers around.
AJ Brown, wide receiver 15?
I'd probably do that, yeah, because AJ, I don't know how many good years he's got left, and this year has been half bad and half good, so I'd probably go with Odunze.
Ladd McConkey, wide receiver 14. Would you rather have
dude, I don't know what the Chargers wide receiver group is going to look like next year. I don't think Keenan Allen's going to be back, so that's kind of tough. But I said, like, Ladd McConkey was getting valued way too high. And is he an alpha? Is he like Julian Edelman? I don't know. Maybe. I'd rather have Rome Odunze.
All right, let's talk about the quarterback position, Fabs, because for the first time in
I love it.
Years.
We love the Drake.
Years. We
love the Drake, Marcus.
We have a new quarterback inside the top two. It's no longer just Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. We'll get to that next. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. All right, let's dive into some quarterback ADP, because for the last 3 years, there's been 3 quarterbacks. It's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. Last year, Jaden Daniels got really close to entering that top 3. Patrick Mahomes has been in that group before, but that was, you're talking about years and years ago. But now we have a new quarterback too. Behind Josh Allen is Drake Maye, QB2, 50th overall in non-superflex leagues, ahead of Jalen Hurts, ahead of Lamar Jackson. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. I love Drake Maye. I came into the season. He was like, him and Caleb Williams were both my 2 like big breakout quarterbacks, and Drake Maye has been much better than Caleb Williams, especially more consistent. And I just think New England's going to continue to improve the offensive line and the weapons around him. I mean, that's going to be their focus. Like, they could bring in a good young wide receiver. I know they typically fail horribly at drafting wide receivers, but I mean, historically, like, that's been the case, but they can bring in some players, and he's doing this without like a true alpha wide receiver. I mean, Stephon Diggs is good, but he's 31 coming off an ACL, and his numbers have fallen off over the last few weeks. So I love Drake Maye. He's 23 years old. I mean, he's a young guy. And, we're starting to see some like kinks in the armor for Lamar Jackson. We're starting to see some kinks in the armor for Jalen Hurts. What happens if the NFL decides no more tush push, next year? Like, that'll hurt Jalen Hurts' value. And again, you've got like a 5-year gap in age, 4 to 5 year gap. So yeah, I understand that 100%. He's ahead of Jaden Daniels. I think that's certainly smart. Jaden Daniels, geez Louise, like, you went from, riches to rags when it came to statistics. He's been hurt most of the year. He's not playing again this season. So maybe you buy low on Jaden Daniels, but I love Drake Maye. I've got one of my dynasty leagues, bro. I have Josh Allen and Drake Maye. I have played Drake Maye once this year, and people are like asking me to take him like in a trade, and I won't do it. I'm just not doing it.
All right, so I agree with Drake Maye over Lamar, over Jaden Daniels, over all those names. The only one that I don't agree with is Jalen Hurts, and it's not because I think Jalen Hurts is some awesome quarterback. It's just the rushing, and it's so consistent. And
what if the tush push goes away?
Well, and I wanted to talk about that because that is a very fair point. I trust that Philadelphia is going to be able to figure out some way to still do a quarterback sneak variety, because they haven't been doing the tush push throughout Hurts' entire career. They've done variations of it, but I just don't know how the NFL is going to take out, quarterback sneak. My guess is it's something about you can't push a player from behind, but I still think Jalen Hurts is going to get a bunch of short rushing touchdowns. Fabs, he has 60 rushing touchdowns since 2021.
I get it.
He's averaging about 650 rushing yards per season during that stretch. This year, he also has 22 passing touchdowns. And you're just locked into, 30 plus touchdowns every single year. I also listen, Philadelphia's organization is really good. I trust that they're always going to put, receivers around Jalen Hurts and a really good offensive line. I'll still take Hurts, but it is getting closer for me.
Yeah, no, I'd still rather have Drake Maye. There's a 3 to 4 year gap in terms of age. And that's kind of like where I'm going to side with Drake Maye. Young, up and coming. At what point does Jalen Hurts start to decline? And I don't think that decline's coming in the next couple of years per se. I remember after he had that really bad game against the Chargers, which, by the way, that game cost me 3 playoff spots. I'm always going to be pissed at Jalen Hurts because that last interception cost me a playoff spot in one of my leagues. But somebody out there, and you know how you get angry Twitter people. And there was one that stuck with me. Somebody said that Jalen Hurts is just Justin Fields with better weapons around him. And I'm like, all right, I don't know if I'm going that far. I don't know if I'm going that far, but I'd still rather have Drake Maye.
Let's just do a little recap of the rookie quarterbacks right now on Dynasty League football.
Oh, do we have to?
Well, I mean, Jackson Dart at one. I think it was
kidding.
last month he was quarterback 7. Now he's down to quarterback 11, and I gotta believe that's a lot due to injury concerns. Go ahead.
He's behind Dak. Why? I don't
Because
get that.
He's
behind
he gets evaluated for a
Mahomes.
concussion.
Why? I don't get that.
He gets evaluated for a concussion every other game.
All right. Okay. And Patrick
a lot of this
coming off an ACL now.
But I think a lot of this is based on availability. Like it's really hard to rank Jackson Dart ahead of someone like Dak if you're constantly worrying about him being in and out of the lineup.
I mean, not for nothing, but Dak Prescott's missed plenty of games in his career as well. But he's 32.
It's easier to replace Dak if you know that he's going to be out for eight weeks than Jackson Dart, who you don't know until Sunday morning, and then he plays 3 plays.
I mean, listen, I mean, that's not going to be the case every single week. I mean,
Well, I think there's just concern that he can't make it through games without getting banged up, and you wonder about that play style. But anyways, let's go through this. So Jackson Dart, QB 11, Cam Ward, QB 19, and this is the most egregious of all the rankings.
Yes, and I know exactly where you're going.
Tyler Shough at QB 28. Tyler Shough has played really, really, really well this season. I don't see any way the Saints draft a quarterback next year, and you can get a rookie quarterback at QB 28 who also will use his legs. Sign me up. I love Tyler Shough at that price.
Yeah, I would agree with you too. And Kellen Moore, that influenced the offensive mind, the head coach. I think that benefits him. What gets me is that Shedeur Sanders is quarterback 24. And he's going ahead of, and I'm not going to listen. I'm not in love with JJ McCarthy. You guys know this, but he should not be ahead of JJ McCarthy.
No. And
I got to be honest with you. I don't think he should be ahead of Tyler Shough either. I think Shedeur Sanders is just a name. And
should he be ahead of Jacoby Brissett?
Is Jacoby Brissett going to be a starter next year? I have no idea. I'm not sure.
I think the point is that when Brissett plays, you're putting him in your fantasy lineups, right?
Bro, but people aren't.
Well,
still 50% of leagues where he's not even owned. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's like people don't like Jacoby Brissett because he's Jacoby Brissett. Bro, if I could start him this week, do you know that there's only 2 quarterbacks who've scored more points than him since week 6?
Is JJ McCarthy not one of those?
And Trevor Lawrence. It's crazy. And Trevor Lawrence being 2 is kind of bananas.
Nah,
I mean, but the youth. Yeah, I'd rather have Shedeur Sanders, but I think he is not. It's the Browns, man. I'm sorry.
I know.
He's in Cleveland. I think he's too high.
All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. If you need a last-minute holiday gift for someone who keeps asking what you want, make it easy. Ask for the Everydayer Club, ad-free episodes of the show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through our link that's in the show notes. Check it out. And for those of you on video, make sure to check out the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. And on audio, make sure you make our second listen the Locked On NFL podcast. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. We'll see you back here with some stardom and sit-ems for week 16. We'll see you guys then.